Hey, so tonight I stumbled upon something that is pretty significant to my personal life, and it's related to a killer, a man who killed somebody in Washington State while I was stationed there as a soldier, and I actually had a personal encounter with this man, business dealing, and there is a very respectable independent media woman in Washington State known as Brandy Cruz. She's doing really great things. I think independent media is one of the only media that we can really place any trust in at this point. And she did a story today that involved this man, and it really struck a chord with me because I actually met him and bought a car from him, and it goes even deeper than that. I'm going to tell you, it goes a lot deeper than that. If you take some time to listen, I'm going to tell you about it in just a moment. So, back in, I don't even know exactly what year it was, 2010-ish, something like that, right? Me and my family, we needed a car. I was stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington as a soldier with the United States Army Field Artillery. And now they call this place JBLM, but it was Fort Lewis. It'll always be Fort Lewis to me, right? But we needed a car. So we went into Tacoma and we went to a lot of the dealerships, and we ended up buying a Jeep Liberty from a man named Robert Selland Jr. And I'll never forget that name because it was kind of a charismatic name, like Robert Selland Jr., kind of hit home with me. So I remember that guy's name, and I bought this car from him, and within a couple of weeks, the transmission went out, and I ended up having to replace that for a couple $1,000s. And I even went back to the place, and I was like, hey, can you guys help me out with this? And they were, not really, we sold it to you as is, whatever. And he was a really nice guy, never had any negative encounter with him, any attitude, just a really nice guy, knew how to interact with people and everything. And years later, I learned that he killed his wife and went to prison for it. But here's the thing. Years later, I was single, and I was meeting girls in the community for single guy encounters. And one of these girls was a girl of a lady or woman of what you might call ill repute. I'm not admitting that I've engaged in any criminal activity or anything like that. I'm just saying she was a female who, she'd get with anybody for the right reasons, right? So I got to talking with her when we were done doing our business, and we were, do our time together. After our time together, and I got to talking with her, and I said, well, so why is it that you're just kind of meeting up with guys like this and whatnot? And she says, well, I don't really have much of a reason, but I will tell you this. My mom married a man, my stepdad, and he murdered her. And I said, well, that's terrible. It almost brought me to tears. Like, I really felt for this girl. And I said, well, what happened? Tell me what happened. And she says, well, his name was Robert Selland Jr., and he, him and my mom got in a domestic disturbance, and he killed her. And oh my God. I said, oh my God. I bought a car from this guy. that turned out to be a lemon. And I just couldn't believe it that this guy's stepdaughter was in a position, her family was so effed up that she was out there hooking up with dudes like she was, and just really sad stuff. Now, I'll tell you what, it doesn't end there. There's more to this story. Shortly after we bought this vehicle, probably 9 months to a year later, I get this thing in the mail. And it is this here. I got it right here. I saved it. I actually framed this and put it on the wall at one point. And then I kind of got a little older and more mature, and I took it off the wall because why would I want to celebrate something like this? It's pretty dark stuff. But Robert Sellin Jr. was a karaoke guy. And he sent out discs to his customers. I've got one right here, right? That's a disc of Robert Sellin Jr. singing karaoke. He's actually got a pretty great voice. I can't even believe I still have this disc. I thought maybe one day it would be, no, I didn't really, but I thought maybe one day it would be a collector's item, right? Not really. I mean, apparently, Washington State, right? Dude kills his wife, goes to prison. According to Brandy Cruz, this dude's out of prison now, and he's playing Santa, and kids are sitting on, potentially here in the near future, they'll be sitting on his lap. I don't have an opinion on that. I don't really know what to make of it. I'm just going to tell you this. I was blown away. Blown away. I listen to Brandy Cruz on a regular basis because I think she's a really smart lady, and I think that she's speaking a lot of truth about what's going on in places like Washington State. So I listen to her regularly, and when she started to tell this story tonight, she says something about a guy that killed his wife, and he's going to be a Santa, and people are going to sit on his lap. And this is where we get into this. This becomes part of my story. I said out loud, I'm in my kitchen, like making cookies for my kids, right? They're asleep right now because it's late at night and it's my night off. But I'm in here like, please do not tell me that you're talking about Robert Sellin Jr. And when she, moments later, in this video, she says exactly that name. It was like a blast from the past. I mean, it really, really affected me. But I could not believe that oh my God, I couldn't believe. I bought a car from this guy. I met his stepdaughter who was devastated by what this dude did to her life. This guy killed his wife. I don't know why. Who knows what the personal reasons behind it were. But in a state like Washington State, you can kill your wife and get out. It doesn't seem like that long ago that this happened. I like to consider myself still kind of a young man. It doesn't seem like that long ago that this happened. I know to him it probably seems like forever because he was in some semblance of a prison, but I do believe that he was in sort of a mental health treatment place for people who, I don't know, maybe he caught her cheating. I don't know. So when you catch someone cheating, you're like, oh, y'all gonna die now because I caught you cheating. I'm gonna kill you. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I will say this, Brandy Cruz, you're great. This hit home personally. I've got his disc here. If you do want to hear him in all his karaoke glory, let me know. I'm going to try to send this to you some way. And yeah, great. Keep up the good work, Brandy Cruz. I love you. I think a lot of people do. You're doing great things. And have a great night, everybody.